When I was a competitive athlete, the injury that sidelined me for a few years until I got resolution, compartment syndrome in my left arm. What would be your approach to something like that?
Fundamentally, our human system is designed to self-repair. Now, what stops us from self-repairing? Well, one of the biggest mistakes that's ever happened, that you should do the RICE protocol, rest, ice, compression, elevate. People want to say things like, well, this is the way it's done, or we've always done it this way. That doesn't make it the best way. What's the best way to solve the problem? Let's look at the problem. And what's going on is that when you rest, it slows down vascular and lymphatic flow. When you make it cold, it slows it down more. When you compress it, you could stop it if you chose to by making it tight enough. That's called a tourniquet. Doesn't sound like we're going in the right direction if we're trying to move that waste out and trying to bring circulation in. Well, there's some belief that if you elevate it, somehow the elevation was going to help drain the fluid from the damaged site. The passive lymphatic system doesn't work by you sticking your foot up in the air if you hurt your foot. It literally traps the waste in and around the damaged site and prevents the natural flow of oxygen and supplies. Now, why would you do that? Well, because RICE is nice. So we all did RICE. So what do you want to do? Well, muscle activation. When you sit still, you trap the waste in and around the damaged site to prevent the natural flow of oxygen and supplies. Sit still, make it cold, compress it, and elevate it. But when you move, when you walk it off, well, now you've solved the problem, because that's how the body heals.